again, it's very late, and I realized something that I already knew I was aware of, but I do not like it when things aren't where they are supposed to be. I turns out now when things aren't when I misplace something even as trivial as a flash drive or something insignificant like that, I go into like full on panic mode. And you know what? I earned that, and I just can't believe just how worked up I got and how long I spent just just on the cusp of freaking the hell out over misplacing something that I had accidentally set, that I'd forgotten that I had put in my backpack earlier in the day. It wasn't lost. I just put it somewhere where it didn't belong, and that drove me insane. And you know what? That's anybody who knows anything about why that is the way that I am, then you would understand. But for anybody else, that's just I earned every bit of my crazy. I fought very hard for a very long time to wind up this broken and this way. Let's just leave it at that. Like, this is something that I am at the very least grateful for, because there are those that came before me that fought the same institutional ignorance that I was up against for many years, but I survived, and that was not the case just 30 years ago. That was not the case for people like me fighting the fight that I was fighting. They did it anyway. They did not get, a, for lack of a better term, a fighting chance of survival. They knew that they were dying, and there was nothing they could do about that. There was nothing that could possibly be done to save their lives, but they fought anyway. And for the very least, I'm grateful to that, because I'm alive. I'm here today to experience this madness, this unimaginable physical pain that coincides with mental health concerns and issues like PTSD. And it turns out that something I didn't know, and most people probably don't, is the physical ramifications of mental health problems and the agonizing pain that you experience in those moments and in the time after those moments. I was going to write all this down, but I felt like this needed to be said. So here, this is what I'm doing. And I'm watching independent news, because let's face it, our journalists are sellouts and are doing the bidding of somebody who doesn't know the difference between an orgasm and a human rights violation, quite frankly. And you can quote me on that one. I encourage it. Does not know the difference between an orgasm and a human rights violation. That is who's calling the shots here. And that is why we are such a fucking mess, and why they are pulling practical jokes on the President of the United States at the United Nations. That is hilarious. It is probably the best new thing I've seen in a very long time, and we all needed to see something so hilarious that the world, the literal planet, the human population are playing jokes on the most powerful man in the world, and they're pulling pranks on him, not once but twice, because it was funny. And he's actually a sad, weak little man who doesn't know the difference between an orgasm and a human rights violation. So, good on whoever that was. I'm just going to take a shot in the dark and just assume that person that came up with those ideas was gay. I'm just going to go out and say on a limb and say that person was probably gay to come up with that kind of idea. And then to actually pull it off, yeah, no. Good on you. Good job. But I digress. I need to sleep. I need to go to bed. I need to think clearly about what it is I should be worried about and focusing on, and that is not happening. It has not happened recently, and I can't help but being drawn back into the fight that I swore to myself that I would never, ever walk back into again. Because I chose to fight the first time. I chose that. I knew what I was I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I knew what the price would be. I knew what the cost was. I knew that this would be what would happen if I, assuming I survived, not knowing whether or not I would. Well, and you know what I told myself back when I chose to fight this kind of stupid, this particular sect of stupid. I mean, it is a on full display. It is a very unique, not unique, but it's very specific kind of stupid, really. And I am uniquely qualified to fight this very specific brand of stupid. There you go, that's the word. But I swore I would, once I put an end to it, and once I stopped, once it was over, for me personally, years ago, I swore I would never do that again. I swore that was it. I survived. I made it. I'm done. I just want to live. I just want to get back to my life. I want to go. I just want to be grateful for the fact that I have a chance. I had a fighting chance to survive, and I am eternally grateful for those who fought before me and did not have a fighting chance of survival. So, step in the right direction. Baby steps, I guess, but so yeah, it's not pretty, and I knew it wouldn't be pretty. That's the only thing I knew about this moment period of my life. If I managed to survive long enough to get here, I knew one thing, and the only thing I knew is that it would not be pretty. This would not be pretty, and let me tell you, it has not been pretty. I've had my moments. Don't get me wrong. My hair's looking pretty good right now. I'm feeling good about that, but that's about it's there are good days and there are not so good days, but I can't believe I got so upset over misplacing a little flash drivey thing. I don't know, something that goes there. I don't know, it's a little thing. Stupid. Like, who cares? And I don't. And that didn't stop me from dropping everything, but putting my life on hold to I didn't tear anything apart. I didn't go moving furniture or anything like that, but still, bit dramatic for something so simple. And I just needed to say, well, I earned that. I earned that moment. I earned the right to have that moment, to be that panicky, manic behavior. And someone came up to me earlier tonight. I was at a bar having a few drinks, and pulls me aside, and we talked, and I'm so grateful for that person for caring enough to actually be willing to sit down with someone and just check in, just to make sure that I was okay and see what was going on and have a real honest conversation. Something that people don't really do anymore. We don't do that anymore. Not face to face. Not like for real, for real. That doesn't happen anymore. This is how we communicate. Screens and cameras and YouTube and exhausting. But I was very much moved, and I probably will never forget that moment where someone went out of their way to just see how somebody else was doing, just with no ulterior motives or no not trying to get anything out of me. Didn't have an agenda. He just was. It was something I think we all need to take inventory of and see when was the last time we did that for somebody else. And because we're really good at doing that for ourselves, and we will make sure that we're getting everything that we want, individually. But no. This fight that we're in the middle of right now, I can't help but go back on the front line, and I'm in it. And well, like I say, we'll see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Now for what I actually wanted to say. It is every person's responsibility. If you see something that is happening, and it's wrong, should not be happening, and you have the means and the capacity to not not to go help, not to go force your will on somebody, because that is not helping. Deciding that you know better than somebody else, and then acting on that best interest is not helping. That does not help. No. But if you see something happening in front of you, right in front of you, look a little bit beyond this, and you know that that's wrong, you are responsible. You are accountable for that thing, that wrongdoing, that thing that's happening right in front of you, and you are responsible for doing something, stopping it, making it right. Whether it's anything, if you have the means to do something about something that is happening, is wrong, then you need to figure out what the correct answer is to that moment, to that wrong thing that you stepped into, that you walked into, and had nothing to do with, but it's happening, and you see it, and it's there, and now and you have more than capable of putting an end to, making it stop, or doing something to make it just end. Then it becomes your responsibility to do so, and don't just decide what you think has been better, and you're gonna go in, you're gonna impose your will on somebody else because you think you know better. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't do that. That's why I'm gotten myself caught up in this fight, and that's why I'm doing exactly what I said I wouldn't do, and I don't mean to, and I don't really want to, quite frankly, but this is happening. This is real. This shit is really happening in real time, in reality, in the world that we all live in, with a few notable exceptions, and it needs to stop. And I happen to be in a position where I can respond, and where I can contribute to putting an end to what is happening. And that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to do. So, what will you do? What are you going to do? What are you going to tell your kids or your grandkids of you, where you were in this moment. Or you can tell them anything, or you're going to lie, you're going to make something up, you're going to be one of those people that goes around crying about being on the River Kwai in Vietnam, that pose as Vietnam vets, and they're all fucked up in the head, and they're blaming on Vietnam, and they were actually more like, Trump's draft dodging kind of people, and it turns out, no, I have no idea where I was going with that. I lost it. This is what I'm working with, but still doing what I can. You know who's not happy with what I'm doing? This little girl, Ira. No, we're going to, you ready? There you go. Say hi, everybody. Look at me like I'm crazy.